Hello and welcome to Wisp Sports Radio's Breaking Free, a brand new show in which we discuss mental health issues and how sportswomen overcome the challenges they have to face in order to train and compete successfully. We will be hearing from women who have different experiences and who have generously agreed to share their journeys while offering some advice and resources. I'm Tara Campbell, a runner and writer. I recently shared my journey with ADHD in a series of articles for Wisp Sports. And I'm now excited to have the opportunity to speak with other women about their own journeys in thriving through sport. And my first guest is Tina Chantrey. Tina is a contributing editor at Women's Running Magazine UK. She suffered from postpartum depression after the births of her 3 daughters. She also went through divorce and has written a book, The Divorce Survival Guide, which focuses a lot on mental health, giving readers a 6-stage running program to help them cope with the conflicting emotions of divorce and stages of grief. Hi, Tina. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Tara. Thanks very much for having me.
Where are you speaking to us from today?
Well, I'm based on the south coast in England, in between Southampton and Portsmouth.
She Who Dares Runs. This is the name of your award-winning blog. You also consider it to be a bit of your alter ego. Tell us a little bit about why the alter ego comes from.
Okay, well, originally, the name came because I wanted to write a column in a running magazine and I didn't want anyone to know who I was. So we wanted to kind of leave it open so that the readers could decide what level of athlete I was rather than telling them. And because I was a mum of 3 children and juggling work and family life and trying to get back into competitive writing, you know, I wanted to create this alter ego that I could use as a vehicle to get out all of my stresses and life issues and talk about them that were very relatable to other readers and women. So that's where she came from.
So running really has been a way for you, a mental outlet for you in your journey. I'm curious, you have mentioned in a statement that running, in fact, saved your life. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. Well, when I was just coming up to my 40th birthday, I made a massive decision that I wanted to leave my marriage and separate and go on that road to divorce. And it turned out to be a really complicated road. I mean, no divorce is ever easy, but I had married someone from abroad. So when I left my ex-husband, he then decided that he wanted to move back to his native country. So this created this very complicated situation, and I had no one to turn to. I didn't know anyone else, either who was divorced or who had been married to a foreign national. So when I started down this very difficult road of finding myself almost homeless and with 3 young children to look after, I felt that my internal world started to crumble and anxiety well and truly took over. And I had running in my life, and right at the early stages of separation, just holding myself together every day meant I just had to give up the plan I had at that time of completing a marathon. But slowly, as I went through the process, being able to go for a run helped me deal with what at the time were incredibly difficult emotions, intense fear that I wouldn't be able to support my children, and incredible anxiety on a daily level because I felt really very alone and overwhelmed with everything I was trying to do to make sure that those 3 girls were okay. And so just to be able to go out at the beginning, at slow jog, get back into nature and connect and be present, literally helped me get through each day. And I think if I hadn't had that, the likelihood is that I would either turn to alcohol and found myself started drinking, or I would have just completely withdrawn from society in order to get through the day. So running kept me present, helped me channel really difficult emotions, and just made sure that I was back in connection with, my running club and
other friends rather than sitting at home just, holding my head and crying and wondering how I was going to cope.
Yes. Now, you moved on to write a book about your experience in going through the divorce. It's called The Divorce Survival Guide, and running plays a big role in this book as far as helping people through a divorce. How did you come from a place of knowing that through running it could help during difficult times to getting to the place where you decided you wanted to write a book about it and put your personal story out there for others to benefit from?
Well, I didn't actually plan to write the book. The book kind of came to me and wrote itself. I just started writing letters to a friend who had helped me get through divorce, but then went to live in Australia, and I started writing letters to her, but they weren't really to her. They were kind of just an opportunity to really vent all my feelings. And as I wrote each letter, I just wanted to continue. And before I knew it, I'd actually written the whole experience, and it became very cathartic. And it was actually really difficult to go. It was about 4 years after the event, and to go back and realize how hard it had been and what I'd gone through was just really, upsetting. It was a good process, but at the time it was really difficult. So I started writing what happened and all the advice that I needed. And then I realized that, running was such a big part of this, and that other people going through a similar experience would gain so much from doing some form of exercising. I mean, for me, it's running because I'm a running coach, and I had set up my own running group to help other women who perhaps didn't have partners to help with childcare. But I wanted women to have a basic 6-step plan of any exercise, whether it's walking, going out swimming, finding a yoga class, just to have the basic steps and confidence, and to be able to find groups or how to do this. I wanted to include that in a 6-step plan to almost pull them through their own experience and give them a goal, and it's like the light at the end of the tunnel where you perhaps eventually enter a race, and getting to that race is your final achievement, and it's a symbol of perhaps coming through the experience and finding yourself again and learning to love yourself and be able to have the confidence to go back out in the world after most of the time divorce is quite a difficult experience.
Yes, and you also experienced postpartum depression after the birth of your 3 children. I'm wondering if you turned to running during that time as well.
Yep, definitely. The second child was the time that I experienced it the most, and for me it was definitely linked to difficult and complicated births and end of pregnancy. So after each birth I was at such a physical low that I think mentally I naturally withdrew and I struggled. But I set myself a goal after having each child of wanting to do a local race, which is it's a massive race here in the UK. It's one of the biggest 10-mile races in Europe, and it's held in Portsmouth. And I've wanted, after each child, to get to that race the same year, so that when my children have grown up, I could say to them, look, birth or pregnancy can be challenging, but you can continue, you can have new goals, and you can adjust to a new way of life. So running was definitely crucial after each birth, but it didn't really come back into my life perhaps until after the third child, where with having 3 human beings to look after, I had no sense of myself, and then I really needed to turn to running to find who I was again. And that's when it really came back into my life, and then I started to discover the speed was still there, and I enjoyed it, and I wanted more.
It's interesting you talk about how it helped you find yourself again. Can you explain or elaborate a little bit more on that? How through the running you were able to find that person that in a way you had lost through the childbirth?
Yeah, definitely. I think when you have a little baby, they take over your life, And as you have 1, then 2, then 3, the chores and the daily organisation, it completely consumes you. And as an individual, I needed to leave the house on my own with no responsibilities, no one asking me for anything, and just to have that inner freedom in my mind. And, eventually I realised that the only way I was going to get that was to be able to put my trainers on and leave. And with 3, life was so busy. I had a newborn, I had a child in preschool, and one that had just started, it was 5, who just started school over here. And there was no minute in the day for me. So, as soon as I could organise, the baby was old enough and I could organise some form of childcare, then going out for a run became a beacon of light and something that I would look forward to, so that I just had mental freedom. And there was, mainly there was no one saying, Mummy, can I do this? Or Mummy, she's done that. And for me, that was amazing. And it just let me reset my body and my mind back to coming back in the door and feeling like you can be a better parent, and you've got your patience and your tolerance back, and energy as well. It gives you so much more than you put back into it.
Yeah, definitely. And whether it's postpartum depression or a difficult divorce, you haven't been afraid of facing your struggles and then even sharing them with people. I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about the role of vulnerability and all of that in allowing yourself to share your story with others, and what it takes to have the courage to do that.
I think it's quite a daily battle, even when you've come through having children or whatever difficult experience life is at that time setting you, that we all have a daily battle. We all have our doubts. And I think as women, we are the worst people for putting ourselves down or not acknowledging our strengths or our achievements. And I'm just as bad as anyone at that. So, I truly feel, for me, that running reflects my life. So when running is going well, I feel so much more confident within myself and in my life. And perhaps when running isn't going well, or perhaps I have my insecurities are taking over, maybe that's, rather than the running not going well, it's probably more me, and my self-doubt creeps back in. And I think it's a daily battle that you have to find your way back. And whether you use meditation or exercise or whatever you need to do, I think it's there every day. We're all incredibly vulnerable. We all doubt ourselves. And the brilliant thing about exercise and running is that when you do hit a target or you reach a goal, no one can take it away from you. When you run your first marathon and that feeling of crossing the line, it's with you forever. And that's the strength. When you have your low times and you feel rubbish, you have to look back and remember, your achievements, and they're so important. And that's, I feel like running, go through your life, your trainers become your best friend, and you can always turn to it. It's always there, however rough or low you're feeling. And, for me, it's incredibly important that when I'm struggling the most and don't want to go out for a run, that I make myself. And no one ever regrets going for a run.
Yeah, and it's so true. It's when it's the hardest that it's likely needed the most. I'm wondering if you have some words for people who are in a place, whether it's divorce or whatever their struggle may be, and they don't quite feel ready to face the hardships of finding treatment or finding what works best for them. Do you have any advice for those people that just need that extra bit of encouragement to take the steps towards, getting the help or treatment that they need?
I think we all need to every day try and spend some time on focusing on our strengths and believing in ourselves. And whatever you're going through and whoever you are, if you acknowledge that there are people
You might not know them, but there are people out there in exactly the same position. If you acknowledge that you're not alone and you reach out somehow to these people and get support from them, then the battle doesn't seem so hard. And whatever you are going through, you will get through it. Sometimes you just can't believe that, and on a daily basis you feel so overwhelmed, but it's having faith that the good times will come back and getting that faith back in yourself. It's so important. Just small steps. I mean, you don't have to go out and sign up to a 5K or a 10K. You can, run to a lamppost. You can go to a class with a friend. It's just taking small steps back towards the road to being a happy human being. Only you can take those steps, and people can help you and guide you, but you've just got to take small steps, make a list, do something every day for yourself.
Yeah, I think you make a really important point there, which is it takes time, and it's, you don't run a marathon the morning you wake up and decide to start running. You take it one small step at a time, and certainly that's the case when dealing with a difficult situation. Tina, the Divorce Survival Guide, it comes out in the spring, is that correct?
That's right, yes. We're just finalising the front cover and doing some final work on it. So I'm hoping it's imminent. So yes, hopefully by the spring.
And will you be doing some promotion with that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's just getting your head around it, isn't it? So I've got to I've got lots of avenues for promotion because I work for a big women's running magazine in the UK. So I'm hoping to promote it through their social media. And working with organisations over here. Perhaps I've been in contact with some organisations working with children who are, children of divorce. So I'm just hoping to build relationships as I go along, really. So even though I'm an expert at divorce, in the sense I've been through a pretty tough and complicated one, I've still got so much to learn and so many people yet to connect with.
Yeah, and Women's Running UK is certainly a large voice for you to have, and I'm sure you'll be reaching a lot of people that could use some advice. I want to talk to you a little bit more just about the coming through and finding that hope again, because you did touch on that. And can you explain what it feels like when you first start to feel like yourself again, that authentic self that is maybe lost when somebody's going through a difficult time? Can you explain what it felt like for you in those first moments when you started to realize that there was some hope and you started to feel joy again in your life?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think, it's one of those things that it doesn't really happen overnight, and sometimes you don't even really realise you're coming through. It's with divorce, it's such a slow moving process, and for me, a lot of it was related to finalising getting maintenance, which took 4 years, so it took a long time. And when it finally, that cloud lifts, or that weight lifts off you, and you feel that you can once again focus on the things you want to do rather than things you have to do to finish the life process you're involved in. Your mind opens, your heart opens again, and it's just simple things like listening to music becomes a pleasure, rather than, for so long I felt everything was just pushing down on me, and just going for a slow run on the treadmill was just an effort. And then suddenly I felt that, I could enjoy all these simple things and allow myself to be happy. And it's such a precious feeling, because we all know there's always going to be another challenge, and we're never all happy all of the time. But when those moments come back, to cherish them and hold them, use a journal, write them down so that you can reflect, and just having that gratitude. I try and be grateful every day for the smallest of pleasures, whatever's happened, however bad a day and however much I've shouted at my children at night, I give them a kiss and tell them I love them. And to me, that's precious.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I think that's going to offer a lot of hope to a lot of people. And I think it's also really inspiring to hear some of the details of what you went through. Yeah.
Thank you, Tara.
Now,
thanks.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm curious about your running too, though. So what's next for your running? Are you running competitively?
Well, I'm getting older, so I'm 45, and I have a few issues because I have a kidney condition that I discovered when I was about 40. So I have a few things that hold me back, but yeah, I found last year I managed to get back into the top 100 in the country for my age group. So some parts of running are going really well, but you know, my real passion is marathon running, and the last two I've done, I've had to walk the last 6 miles because I have a old standing hip injury. So I'm just waiting to see this spring what my body wants to do. But if I'm going to try one more time the marathon, if it ceases and I don't make it, I think I will probably have to say goodbye to marathon running and focus back down on getting some speed back and working on, you know, those shorter distances. They're much more painful, but I think I'm probably going to be more suited to it getting older, middle age, you know.
Yeah, well, as long as you can get out there and run, I think
absolutely,
that's probably the most important thing. Yeah,
definitely.
Well, Tina, I want to thank you for speaking with me today. It's been a real pleasure to learn more about your story.
Oh, thank you, Tara. Thank you for asking me and onto this. It's been lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks again to Tina for sharing her very personal story with us. Tina's social media links will be available in our show notes accompanying this episode of Breaking Free at wisports.com. That's it for our first episode of Breaking Free. We will have links on our website to resources for the topics that we cover on this program. If you have any comments or questions, you can email us at info@wisports.com. All correspondence will be kept confidential unless permission is given for us to quote you, either with a credit or anonymously. Coming up on the next episode, I will be talking to runner and yogi Lisa Abramson. We'll hear about her journey through postpartum depression and psychosis and how the experience inspired her to leave her career as a marketing executive to help others achieve their dreams. So join me again. In the meanwhile, be sure to follow us on social media at wisports. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And for more conversations around the world of women's sports, check out our other podcasts, videos, articles, and blogs at wisports.com. Until next time, thank you for listening. Bye for now.